Hello and welcome. Welcome to the Storefront Theater Presents Talkback with me, Judy Simpson Cook. I'm very excited. Today's guest is Lorayn DeLuca, actor extraordinaire who has worked with the Storefront Theater in our wonderful show last year, The Waverly Gallery, in which she was wonderful. And so now we're going to talk to her and find out about her acting career, but about other things that might be really interesting to you. So, hello, Lorayn.
Hey, Judy, how are you? Good to see you.
I'm good. It's good to see you too.
Yeah.
Um, how are you doing in the midst of the pandemic?
Well, it's certainly the new normal, that's for sure. Um, I'm just actually, I'm doing well. You go through all of that and then you realize, you need to adjust and be flexible and see what you can make the most of it. Like I'm one of those that makes lemonade out of lemons. So I try to do the best I can. So I set up a film studio in my back room, in my guest room. And so I'm a professional photographer, so I had a lot of the lights and the equipment. So then I just added some other things to accommodate film. So I've been doing a lot of self-taping, auditioning still. I've been doing podcasts and so many Zoom calls. It's amazing. Backstage for actors has these Zoom calls with casting directors now that I'm taking advantage of. It is so awesome because you don't normally get to see the casting directors. You don't get to go in the room. And here I am, just like you, looking at you, and there's famous casting directors on there, like casting some of the shows that I love. So I'm taking advantage of that and taking notes and learning, educating myself because I'm a continuous learner in life as it is anyway. I'm curious about everything. So I'm doing that, and I'm also balancing, how can I say, I think learning about my inner life. So I'm learning to love the silence and trying to just get deeper within myself. So I'm doing my meditations and my qigong and yoga, and I have a recumbent bike that I use every morning, and just to get myself going and motivated, so that I can go out in my backyard and just enjoy my garden. And then all of a sudden, I'm looking at a flower that looks different. The flowers were always there, but now all of a sudden I see a ladybug on top of the daisy, and I'm seeing 8-foot sunflowers that I love that shooting out in my backyard. I'm able to pick peppers and tomatoes, so I have vegetables. And so that's some of my saneness out there that I'm also balancing, because I think in the hurriedness that we've been going through before the pandemic, you lose sight of all of that. You're just going, like they say, a hamster or whatever, or cute ones, or natural colored ones, but nonetheless. So I'm actually enjoying getting to know myself, a relationship with me, and also thinking about my future and what my goals are and what I want to accomplish in this life, because this life is so very, very fragile and so important for what we're seeing now in the pandemic, as a reminder.
Audience members, this lady exercises, she thinks positively, she appreciates the things around her, and she knows how to make lemonade. So what a fabulous human being. Get her down here to teach me some things.
Anytime. Awesome.
Well, let's go back to the past. Tell us where you grew up and how you came to get bitten by the acting bug.
Oh, wow. Well, I grew up in a large Italian family on Long Island, New York. And my father built houses, and he built us a 24-room house with a built-in pool in the backyard and cabanas and stuff. And he used to boast that our house was bigger than Elvis Presley's house. So so our house was the main house that all my friends came to. So I had a lot of friends, but mostly in the summer because of the pool. And so they would come over and we used to swim in the pool. And basically, I used to put on plays for I said, oh, I have an audience. This is great. They'd come swim in the pool. My mother would cook pizza, serve people pizza, and we'd have fresh watermelon and some tea and sit outside. And then my cousin would play the piano. We had a player piano in the backyard also. I put on plays, and we would put plays on and make people laugh. And sometimes they would be original plays. Sometimes they would be from television, from what we would see. And so it really bit me then when I was younger, because also when I was a kid, we used to go up to upstate New York to a house called Fella's Lodge. And every summer we would go up there with all our cousins and aunts. And they used to put me on top of the table in the bar room and tell me to dance and sing and pantomime, put the music on. And so I was the baby girl. So I would be the entertainment for all the family. And I enjoyed the applause. I enjoyed the imagination of it all, that I could become whatever I wanted, and that people would enjoy that and maybe forget about their problems or just sit there and laugh and enjoy what they were seeing. And so from very young, I decided that's what I wanted to do.
I'm something of a laughter addict myself. If they're laughing, I'm pretty happy.
Yes.
Well, we've discussed, and most folks know you locally, I think, as an actor. What is there that most people don't know about you that they might enjoy hearing?
Well, I can say there are a few things I keep hidden that I enjoy doing. But one thing I can say I'm proud of is that when I was living in New York City, I was the first female captain of dining aboard World Yacht. So I'm very, very proud of that. For one, of course, when you're working in New York City, and I worked off Broadway, and I was always in the theater working and studying at Lee Strasberg, but you had to work. So when I worked aboard World Yacht during that time, which was many years ago, there were no women waiting. The women served cocktails. You know, you were only allowed to serve the cocktails, and they were called front waiters. So I started out as a front waiter, but I would watch the captains of dining. And that's what I love to do as an actor. I observe life, you know, because that's what it is, the human experience. That's what acting is. So I would watch the captains of dining, which were all the men, of course. And I would say, gee, I wouldn't do that. I would do that. I would do this. How can I make that better? Because that's me. I look at everything and not satisfied ever. I like to make things better and better. You know, I guess it's the artist in me. Sometimes I'm satisfied, but I like to go better and better and delve deeper and deeper. Anyway, one time the captain of dining, Ricardo, I remember, got sick, and the yacht was about to shove off of the pier on the west side, 23rd Street, Manhattan. Well, I get a call on the loudspeaker. Lorayn DeLuca, come to the office. And I'm like, oh no, what did I do now? They're going to kick me off. I really need this money on this shift. I didn't understand what it was. Well, the manager said, Lorayn, we've been watching you. You've had steady sales, some of the highest sales as a front waiter on the yacht. And for years now, we've been looking at you. So we want you to become the captain of dining tonight. Ricardo is out. I was like, what? So here it was, a step in what you can dream, what you can vision, can become reality. They are all possibilities out in the ether there. Well, this happened. So I'm like, I said, I'll never forget Mark Abrams. I said, Mark, how am I going to do this? I've never done it before. He goes, I have faith in you. You're going to do it. You look great. Your sales are great. I remember when we got there, we all had to line up, and they had to look at our hands, our cuffs, make sure we were clean, our jackets, everything. And so all the front waiters wore high heels on a yacht, except for me. I had worn my brother's shoes, my little brother's shoes, and they were like little Doc Martens, black leather with a buckle on the side, so comfortable. I never had a pair of shoes so comfortable. You know, I wore these flat shoes, and I dressed kind of, I guess male persuasion, and I was always neat and clean, and I guess I just fit right in. Anyway, I did that. I did it that night. He gave me a quick tutorial. I had 10 minutes of what I was going to do. And then he's not on the yacht. The yacht leaves, and I have to be the captain of dining for this whole side of the ship for all these people. So you have to do it timely, get the food out there, get everything done, and the checks paid before the yacht sails back into New York, into the harbor. So I was scared, but I said, look, at the time I was an understudy. I understudied 3 roles off Broadway for Tony and Tina's wedding. And I said, I can do this. I understudied for these roles and jumped in. I can do this. I did it. From then on, I was on the roster, the only female, as the captain of dining. And I got great tips, and I shared them with my whole team, which some of the captains didn't do, I understand, but now I did, because it was a team effort, and I saw that. So from that moment on, what I did was I took my experience, and then I trained other females to become captains of dining, what they needed to wear, how they walked, what they said when they greeted the people, etc., to adopt my way of sort of making money, and also just, I guess, feeling grateful that these people were coming to my home. And that's how I took waiting on tables. And these people are coming into my home, I'm serving them, I'm going to give them a good time. And they're going to have a great time and go back. Anyway, from that day on, females were on the roster for captain of dining. So I can say, and it was so many things that I have done that, to me, paid it forward, just helped other people, serving people, and just was part of history. I'm not in any history book, but I'm telling you right now what happened.
Well, that is fabulous. Everyone, in addition to all her other skills and talents, Lorayn is a pioneer. Someone to be remembered for that wonderful thing. Well, you're not on the yacht anymore, and you're not in New York anymore.
No.
What brought you to this area?
Well, actually, I worked in acting in New York City, and I did that for about 15 years. I worked off Broadway in that hit play I mentioned previously, and others. And I studied with Lee Strasberg for 7 years. And I also observed at the Actors Studio under the helm of Paul Newman, where I got to see the many greats with me at the time. Al Pacino, Robert De Niro was there, Ellen Burstyn was there, Shelley Winters. So I got to see all their work and them working on their craft. So besides all of that training and all of the work that I did in New York, the downturn happened. I had to take a job. So I took a government job, and I worked for the police department, and I was a research analyst for the chief. And I did that, if you can imagine that. And then also I got at the same time, working full time, I got my master's degree in organization development and postgraduate in human resource, human relations, and also conflict resolution. So then I got a job at the Department of Education in New York. and I was there, the director of human resources, which was my dream. That's what I wanted to do, and follow in the steps of the women that I saw doing that job. I did that, and so I did that for 20 years. Now, also, I had taken care of my mother, who was very sick and passed away. And then my father was sick, and I was taking care of him and being with him. Well, when those roles ended, I said, okay, I'm going to take care of me now. And I followed my sister. My sister and her husband and her family moved to Charlotte, North Carolina. So I said, well, my sister moved here, my other sister moved to Memphis, and I have also family in California and Florida. So I actually went to all those places, and I selected Charlotte. I loved it here. I said, you know what? It's like Disneyland. It's so beautiful. I saw nothing like it. I mean, in New York, you had gray skies, buildings. You never saw green, living in Manhattan for 20 years. And I would walk to work or ride my bike to work. And here, I had to get a car. I drove. Beautiful flowers, and people were so happy and smiled and talked to you, and the food was good. Everything was good about it. I said, this is where I want to live. Well, I was grateful enough that my brother-in-law was a land developer, and I was able to pick out a piece of land from him. And I said, I know nothing about North Carolina. I'm a New York girl. Family originally from Brooklyn. I know nothing about the South. I said, Bob, this piece of land better be a good piece of land in a good place, because I know where to find you. You're married to my sister. It turns out he developed this whole area in Matthews, and it was in Matthews. I was able to build a dream home on it, and it was a beautiful neighborhood on a cul-de-sac, and just gorgeous. And I just love it. Well, fast forward to that became very busy, and now I moved to the historic district in downtown Monroe. The city is just, I love history, and I love life, and I love being around the city, and I love here. So I have a historic home that I renovated, which I love to do. It's the fourth home that I've renovated, because I had bought 2 other previous homes in New York that I was renovating while I was working. But anyway, now, fast forward to now, I'm here in this home. My home is renovated. I have a lovely garden and a screened-in gazebo in the back where I sit with my little Yorkie, and who I rescued.
Young Bridget, right?
Yes. Bridget. Now, believe it or not, Bridget came with that name. And she was, I've rescued dogs now for about 25 years, the past, and from birth till they passed. And after that, recently, I said, I'm not going to have any more. I can't do it. I can't do it. It was heartbreaking, because most of them were sick, and I've had to have, because I had a pug previously that I rescued who was born without an elbow, and I had to have like $5,000 later an operation to put in something so he could walk, and all of this stuff. My other pug had breathing problems and diabetes that I had to give shots to. So all of this stuff, but I love them so much. I love animals. I have a passion for animals that I have to rescue them. Well, I rescued Bridget because she spent the first year of her life in a box. And so I took her, I have her 3 years now. I took her to training, and I had to teach her how to drink, how to eat, how to walk on a leash. She's the love of my life now. I carry her around in a leopard pocketbook wherever I go. And I couldn't dream of life without her. And I just truly feel that rescued dogs feel grateful, because I know when she looks at me with love in her eyes, I feel her heart. And I know that I did the right thing for her and for the other animals. Yeah.
Oh, we're on the same wavelength there. I started to say I have 2 rescues in view of me, but I don't know where they are.
Yes, yes.
But they're here, believe me. Hopefully they won't start barking at a delivery man while we're talking. Well, going back to theater and your life and
Sure.
experiences there, do you have a favorite role that you have played? Maybe one that you would play again if asked?
Well, I have to say, I mentioned before Tony and Tina's wedding, and let me say, this was the first improvisational comedy theater off Broadway. It was big. I was in the second cast. I played the maid of honor. And there actually I understudied 3 roles. So I worked every single night. So I had 8 shows a week. And I would go in and the director would tell me, okay, this person's out, you're gonna be this person. So I had to learn those 3 roles. And so they came with scripts. But also I had to listen for the music because it was about a wedding, an Italian wedding, right? So the people actually went to an Italian wedding, and we actually were in a church, and I played the maid of honor, and I wore this pillow inside. The wardrobe set me up with a dress, a red dress, lace dress with, it was kind of tacky, but 2 sides too small, so I looked heavy in it, and tattoo on my breast, and my boyfriend sold drugs at the wedding, and he was the best man, and we rode a motorcycle. And so it was so much fun to engage the people at the wedding in the church. Then we walked with all the people from the church to the reception, and actually it was a reception restaurant that cooked baked ziti. I ate baked ziti every single night. And I loved it. So I listened for the music, and I knew at this point in that tone, I had to be on the other side of the dance floor having a fight with one of the maid of honors, you know. So I had to stop talking to the people, improv, and then run over to there. I would sit at the table, and on Sundays was my favorite because they used to bus in the seniors. So we had busloads, it was packed. And I'll never forget sitting at a table, and I'm talking and improvising and doing my lines and different things as Connie, the maid of honor. And the 2 of the seniors were sitting across from me, and I'd be talking and they'd be going like this. And finally I said, "What are you looking for? What are you doing?" Because I'm talking to her. So she said, "I'm waiting for the show to start." So I was the show. She was in the show. So I felt like I did my job, you know.
Indeed, you did.
She didn't know that I was part of the show, you know. I was the maid of honor, and we walked past. Well, I made people laugh, and we laughed and had so much fun every single night. And our family was like a true family. We really, and that's how I loved theater and even film now. Because you become such a family. You trust one another, and you make it, and the director does this, and production, make it a safe place so that the artists can be free to do whatever it is they need to do, and you're not judged. And that's why I love it so much. And if we can teach lessons along the way to people, or make people happy, forget their problems through comedy, which I love. So I started out in comedy there off Broadway. So basically, I'm circling 360. So now that I moved here and retired from the government, I started my acting back up several years ago. So I'm studying at the Actors Lab in Charlotte, J.D. Lewis's lab, and taking workshops with casting directors. And loving master classes with Deb Aquila coming from LA and things of that sort. So I always have to keep myself new. I like to know what's new and at the forefront. I never like to become stale. And I like to do improv. I studied improv with Elizabeth Byland, different people. I studied improv with Second City in New York City. So I came here and found people, because improv helps me loosen up and really get into who I am as the character and bring myself forward. So I'm doing that now. And I have to say also, by the way, coming back to the roles, I loved playing Dr. Ellen Fine from the Waverly Gallery at the Storefront Theater. You were just wonderful casting me in that role. So it was lovely.
Well, you know this, I've shared this with you before,
Yes.
but I will share it with viewers that after Lorayn did the role in the Waverly Gallery, I was standing on the street, beside the street in Waxhaw, chatting with a gentleman, and this car comes around the corner, sees me, and stops in the middle of the street. And it was a friend, a person who always comes to Storefront Theater, and she said, "That new woman, get her back, get her back." So regrettably, I haven't had a chance to get her back yet, but I certainly will. I know exactly what you're saying, Lorayn, about the sense of family,
Yes.
the sense of community. And
Yes.
that is what I miss about the face-to-face theater,
Yes.
is just seeing those familiar faces and the new faces and actor friends. It's just such a joy to do that. And it's very hard when you can't.
It certainly is, but I have to say what I'm learning now in this new normal, because I understand now that this is the way things are going to be. We have to get used to Zoom. We have to get used to talking through the camera and things like that. Well, I just recently worked with a writer, director, producer from LA, award-winning. Her name is Tiffany Rhodes. Now, when do you get a chance to do that? I have to say, she put out on Instagram a call to audition. I saw it. I looked for a monologue. It had to be 30 seconds, and it had to be a Woody Allen monologue. So I happen to love Woody Allen. I'm from New York. Who wouldn't love Woody Allen? I watched all of his films. So here we are in the pandemic, wondering, what the heck are we going to do? And people depressed and crying. How are we going to? We're at home with our dogs, and what are we going to do? So Tiffany put this together. So anyway, it was an adapted screenplay that she wanted to do, and she decided to adapt it to an Instagram live series, a 5-part series to do on Instagram. So I did the monologue from Woody Allen playing his mother, 30 seconds. I sent it in. She called me 2 hours later and said, "Lorayn," she said, "I'm writing you in the script because I have to have you." She said, you know, we're just wonderful and so funny and full of life and enthusiastic. So I was so grateful. I said, yes, let's do this. And we created the character, and she wrote lines, and we did some improv and did a 360 character. Well, I was in the full 5 episodes, and she's now editing it so that we can see it. If you go to Instagram, it's Tiffany Rhodes, you can see it. She's editing it now to enter in film festivals and to work with it. And maybe in the future, when we get back, we can do the screenplay of it. I played her mother. She played Carol, and I played Carol's mom, Barbara. And it was an Italian woman. And I was able to reach inside and pull out my Aunt Isabel and my Aunt Mary, and you know that, and people from our family, but we won't mention names, will we?
No, definitely not. They all do who they are anyway.
Exactly. It was so much fun.
Well, I don't think we have a great deal more time on our Zoom meeting, but I want to ask about something very quickly.
Okay.
So don't tell me too much, just enough. What is your involvement with the documentary Inherit the Land?
Okay. So presently, I'm one of the producers on this documentary called Inherit the Land, and you can find it on YouTube, Inherit the Land Trailer 2020. You can find it. It is adapted from the book of the author Jean Stowe. Amazing story. It's a love story between Blacks and whites. It's a true story that happened here in Union County. When I read the book, I said, I have to become a part of this. And I reached out to Jean Stowe, and then the director, Silk Kozark, who's pretty famous. He was a basketball player, and then in films in the 80s, and now he's producing and writing. He has a documentary out now called Ball of Confusion, which is coming out, educating people. Anyway, So this documentary, Inherit the Land, right now, my involvement as producer, I'm casting director and casting a production crew, and I'm also acting in it, and various other things, doing fundraisers and etc. on it. So many things a producer does, I'm learning. And they recruited me. So the director came, and the producer, executive producer Jim Johnson, who did many things, you can look him up, came. We met, and they recruited me to come on to this project. So it's us doing this, and I'm boots on the ground from Union County. And I asked them if we could please film it here, get local talent. City of Monroe is on board. Union County Arts is on board. So I'm looking forward to that. We're going to film it. Hopefully we get our funds. We have our Indiegogo campaign. You can look that up or reach out to me either way. Follow me on Instagram to find out about it. And this film is going to be filmed, the documentary in Union County at the Union County Courthouse, where a lot of it really was, where really it happened, without telling you about it. And then we're going to take it from the documentary and make a feature film out of it. And that's going to be a multi-million-dollar project that we're working on now. So we're going to see familiar faces. I'm going to cast people, and I'm so excited. People are reaching out to me, and I'm looking around. I work with the Carolina film community, so I'm involved in a lot of production people. Joanne Hawk is one of the female producers and directors, wonderful in our community, who has mentored me in a lot of ways. And she's excellent, does excellent work. But anyway, I stand on the shoulders of other people. My life isn't over, it has just begun. I'm refiring. And lastly, I'm working on a feature film. It starts in 2 weeks. We're in pre-production now. It's called Heir of the Witch by Victoria Moore, and I played one of the leading roles. I played the witch. So I'm going from the comedy to dark thriller horror, okay, which I have never done before. So I'm going to have to reach down and find a way for you to love me as the witch, you know, because I do terrible things. But there are people in life that do those things, and there are facets, all kinds of facets, you know, the yin and yang. So I'll find a way. I'm doing this. I'm working with a talented Victoria director and a wonderful cast, and it's being filmed in Charlotte area. So you're going to see that as well in the area. I'm looking forward to that so much.
Thank you, Lorayn. You do have a very exciting, interesting life, and you approach it with such a wonderful air of positivity and anticipation of growth. And I think that is lovely. And you rescue dogs, that's even lovelier.
Oh, yeah.
But I think we have about come to an end. I want to thank you so much. Thank you so much for taking this time to talk with me and to talk with folks who follow the Storefront Theater.
Yes.
And Storefront Theater folks, I look forward to seeing you either Zooming or in person again before too much longer. We're still in the dark a bit, but soon, I hope. Yes. We are about to go into a very special celebration. It is Independence Day tomorrow. So I wish you all a wonderful Independence Day. Give thanks for those who made it possible, and enjoy. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Bye.
Bye, Lorayn.
Thank you.